Hello. Welcome to Court of the Rings on twitch.tv/LotraStream. I'm your community manager, Cordovan. And yeah, we're listening to some music coming up with Kingdoms of Harad. This is a new track that debuted last week, and this is one of the exploration bits of music that you'll be hearing in Kingdoms of Harad. So today's show is going to be some news. I have news about Harvest Math. I have news about a special preview on Bullroarer next week. I'll have some information about update 45.6 going out next week. I can answer your questions about Dark Worlds. We should have some information that we can share a little bit on that today. We have our free questing coupon that is underway through November 3rd. We can get the word out about that. And then in-game, I'm going to play a little bit of the Buried Treasure event, just sort of show it off since it's happening this weekend. And then we'll just sort of fill out the remainder of the hour based on whatever's left and whatever we feel like doing. So thank you so much for joining me here today. Really, this is an opportunity for you to ask your questions to me and for me to try to get some news out to you. So let's do that. I'm gonna change screens here real quick. This has been out for a couple of weeks now, but I keep forgetting to change my background image on this particular screen. I don't have anything to put in the background right now. Pretty soon, I'm going to have to get some Kingdoms of Harad stuff. I just haven't done the work on it yet. Anyway, we got our free questing coupon happening through November 3rd. Please do redeem this. Explore our world. You can redeem this coupon on a brand new account through November 3rd. After that, it goes away for a while. We'll see when it comes back. It's been a few years, I think. So get it now. Let your friends know. Great way to just get a ton of free questing in and hundreds of hours of gameplay for free. And if you have a little bit of a point balance in your Lotro store account, maybe you want to pick up for either the Gondor Renewed or Return to Karn Doom instance cluster. They're 99 points as well in the Lotro store through November 3rd. So do that thing when you can. The other thing I want to talk about is we have a lot of events happening both inside of the game right now and upcoming. So let's talk just a little bit about that. When we scroll to October here, you will see that this is a busy weekend. We have got the Hardtack crafting event underway. This kicked off on Wednesday and goes through October 7th. The Buried Treasure event is going on through this weekend through October 5th on that one. Hopdanigans, for those of you interested, is also around through the 5th. And then next week, we have the Harvest Math Festival. Now, I can't show you the new rewards. I can't show you the new rewards today because I'm just not in a position to do so. They're not yet really in a place, a game client or whatever that I can easily access and stream for you right now. But I have a little bit of a list. A little bit of a list that I'm calling up, not on screen. Where am I? No, I'm not going to put this on the screen just yet. But let me say this. The new rewards debuting in 2025 are available for Fall Festival tokens, the Spooky Housing music theme, the Haunted House ambiance, the Haunted Yard ambiance, Cobweb Cloak, Hooded Cobweb Cloak, Cobweb Robe, Cobweb Hat, Harvest Math Cauldron, Heating Cauldron, Small Potions Table, Pumpkins. The following list is housing stuff, so the Small Potions Table, the Cauldrons, the Pumpkin, Webbed Thorny Hedge, Wild Webbed Hedge. We have a Fall Hobby Broom, sort of a hobby horse that's Harvest Math themed, and it's a broom. And Tome of the Autumn Aurochs and Tome of the Pumpkin Horn. That's for the Fall Festival tokens. Also available for Fall Festival tokens or Mithril is the Fall Hobby Broom or the Tome of the Pumpkin Horn. So you can get those with Fall Festival tokens, but if you ain't got none, you don't mind spending a little bit of Mithril, you can do it that way as well. Now, that debuts 10 o'clock Eastern Time next Thursday is when the Harvest Math Festival runs, and it runs until 3 a.m. Eastern on November 3rd. So, cool stuff at the Harvest Math Festival this year. No new region like we've seen in some of the other regions. Frankly, we're busy with Kingdoms of Harad and other priorities right now, so we just weren't able to fit it into this particular festival. But then also the Harvest Math Festival has had several areas for a while now, so perhaps resources were dedicated appropriately to the ones that needed it more. Miss Lizzie as the Balrog versus Gandalf 4K wallpaper. If yes, I am down for this. It might be tough to put that image together, but I like the idea of it. All right. So, talked about the event schedule. I think we're up to speed there. One of the things that we're talking about right now inside of the office is the next Angmar and Mordor update. Hopefully, we'll have some information for you soon on the timing of the next update for Angmar and Mordor. It's possible we're looking at something like November for that, and more specific than that, I wouldn't want to say today, but something like November for the next update for Angmar and Mordor. Also this month, just a little bit later on this month, to make sure you're aware, we do have the Durin's Day event coming back. That's on the 17th. For sales, it's really mostly about the pre-purchase for Kingdoms of Harad. That debuted last week, and then we have our housing sale going on and a free coupon code for combat run speed boost. All right. Well, no, there are a few bits yet I haven't gotten to, so let me now focus on, how about Bullroarer? Let me just change cameras here since I don't have anything for the screen. All right, so we are working on a special preview for next week for Bullroarer. The biggest challenge is a little bit of inside baseball, but I guess we kind of need to talk about it a little bit since it relates to dating of a thing happening next week, and that is we've been having some build problems this week. That is specifically making it somewhat difficult to get this preview ready. But if everything works, our plan is for next week to do a special raid and PvMP focused preview on Bullroarer. What's this about? This is about a potential game performance improvement fix that we've been able to identify, but we don't know what kind of impact it's going to have yet. We need to actually gather some data to know what kind of impact it's going to have. What we're really talking about is when you are in large groups and instances, this is an optimization to the way the game communicates. So if you think about a raid breaking down in its most fundamental level, it's packets of communication going back and forth, right? Packets of data going back and forth for skills and combat and how much damage and where are you and did you hit and all this other kind of stuff. And what this change really does is better optimize that for significant performance gains. That's the idea anyway, and we'll see what kind of impact it has. But we have found really some just kind of lopsided ways that the data is being transferred, things that were established that worked a decade ago that just due to the way the game is these days maybe doesn't operate the same way. Whole bunch of just little bits and bobs like that, but really comes down to some pretty fundamental communication that happens when you're in a group with a whole bunch of other people, like in a raid, or in a large, say, PvMP style zone. It happens all over the place, right? So, but we're trying to target where it's going to make the most impact. And so we'd really like to see something like, we'll have more information in the coming days, but something like Wednesday and Thursday, we're planning to do each day 2-hour targeted previews on Bullroarer. The idea is to try to hit European and US evening times so that we can try to get a whole bunch of people, or as many as can participate, into these spaces to test things out. If you are concerned about raid lag, we need your help. If you are concerned about PvMP lag, we need your help. And if you want to try to do something directly that will hopefully lead to improvement, show up on Bullroarer next week, please. What else are we going to do, though? Because, hey, you got to download the Bullroarer client. You got other things going on. Well, it's not the biggest incentive in the world, but I have an incentive for you, which is that during these previews, I am going to be giving randomly to people who I see previewing things on Bullroarer. Yes, me, Orion, and others are actually going to be on Bullroarer behind the scenes checking things out during this. I have a title that has not yet been released that will not even be in the game data until update 45.6, which is tentatively set for next week. But regardless, you are going to be the first to get this in-game title if you show up and preview. And I pick you. I'm going to pick as many people as I can. But if there's 1,000 of you, I can't mail out 1,000 codes. But I can probably do 100. So this is your chance. Anyway, the title is Fellow of the Bullroarer. We've created a Bullroarer preview title. And I'm going to be able to give that out. So you'll get the code. You'll go to the live game client later. You'll redeem it. Whether it's in game data or not, it'll redeem in the catalog. And then whenever we do bring it in with update 45.6, you will be able to select it. So I'm debuting this title during this preview next week. Exact timing TBD, sadly. However, what do I have? I have got... I'm trying to find the one thing I've got. I heard something about the preview schedule today. I'm trying to find that. No, I'm not finding the goofy thing. One quick second. Let's see. Well, sorry, I think it's something like 2 to 4 p.m. and 8 to 10. Could be 3 to 5. It's something like Wednesday and Thursday of next week. That's the idea. Whether we hit that time and date will TBD, but we're going to get an announcement on the forums probably something like Monday once we know for sure. But I'm debuting the information today, which is that next week, if everything goes well, we are going to be doing a very special preview on Bullroarer to target some pretty fundamental ways the game communicates during combat, and most specifically targeting the large amount of communication that happens when you've got large groups in instances. So that'll be happening next week. That is really something that we are looking forward to. The week following, we're hoping to have our first Kingdoms of Harad landscape preview. That would be for Adagim. Now, if you were paying attention on Twitch this week, you might know that Adagim got a landscape preview right here on Twitch by our senior world designer Scenario. That video is up on YouTube. It's also in our Twitch archive here. And that happened on Wednesday. That is kicking off, or that is continuing, rather, a series of previews that we are doing really throughout the month of October here. Next Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern, right here on Twitch, is going to be the casual stroll through Keegan, and this is with Scenario as well. So this week's is up on YouTube. Next week's happens 2 p.m. Eastern. After Keegan, we're going to On Sharu, then Idigal, and Instances and Interiors to wrap things up on October 29th. And that'll be our preview series that included the Cave Troll and then the Casual Strolls. And I've got some things I'm working on for November as well. I don't know what those videos are going to be yet, but we're working on something. All right, so I got the Bullroarer preview done. Oh, let's talk a little bit about Dark Worlds. I am currently working on some messaging for when the Dark Worlds are ready to open. It's possible that that could be next week. If everything works out okay in the coming days, it's possible that we'll be able to open the former 32-bit worlds as Dark Worlds, something like maybe later next week. Could be the week after. We'll see where it ends up actually falling. But we're really on the cusp of being able to get that work done. So when that happens, the 32-bit game worlds will be available to transfer from. You won't be able to log into them, but you'll be able to transfer from. And that'll continue for at least 2 years afterwards. So if we do hit next week, it'll continue until something like early mid October 2027. And we barely just have an article that kind of summarizes a little bit about what you need to know. The main question, though, the main thing that is one final piece we're working on is we have one known issue that we're working to resolve. One of the things we've been able to do is remove this issue with kinship, abandon, and sell, and housing escrow. So the way it's going to work with these dark world transfers is whether you've abandoned your house or not, or if you have not abandoned your house, rather, you will be able to transfer without issue. It'll automatically abandon or sell as necessary your kinship housing. And then on your destination world, you'll get your homesteading coins like you would expect. So we're going to remove the process that existed prior where you had to pick up things on your origin world and then bring them to your destination world. That's going to be done behind the scenes, so you'll just transfer. It'll be there. Unfortunately, there's a bit of a halo on that one change, which is necessary. It's a necessary change. And that is that if you are a kinship leader and you abandoned or sold your kinship housing, and you have things in kinship escrow, and you didn't transfer, then you might get stuck being unable to transfer. And if you're in that position, then I think we're going to need to interact with your account directly through a CS agent in order to be able to really unblock you and get you to transfer. Now, how many kinship leaders abandoned or sold their homes but didn't follow through on transfers yet is not really something that we have a lot of high visibility on. And really that's if there's a hang up, that's really the final hang up, as it were, to us opening up these dark worlds. But the belief is that it's probably a manageable number of people who are in that state. And this change is necessary because it allows everyone else to transfer. That we could probably handle it through a CS ticket. So that's where we are on this Friday noon. Is frankly we're having a discussion about, well, okay, how bad is that? And can we just sort of manually deal with the 20 some people or whatever is in that state, or are we looking at 200 or more? So that's where we are right now on the Dark Worlds chat. So. All right. You are curious. Warhite is asking in chat, with the Wraiths on Angmar and Mordor, are we back to cycling 2 again? That is the general plan. There may be times where it's 1. There could even be times where it's more than 2. But in general, yeah, the plan is to cycle 2 of the Wraiths kind of through the content here. We were talking about Angmar and Mordor in the next update here. There's a plan to do an update really in November. We have an internal date that we were just discussing this week, whether it's the actual date or whether it needs to be shifted at all. So I'm not ready to present a formal time for Angmar and Mordor, but it could be something like early mid-November when we do our next Angmar and Mordor update. Yes. Thank you, Carlo, for bringing up the Uta-Gabur Wing 3 thing. That brings me to my next bit of news, which is that we do have a game update set for next week. That'll be update 45.6, set to go live on Wednesday, October 8th. The main thing in update 45.6 is all the Harvest Math Festival stuff for the opening the following day for Harvest Math Festival. But the other big piece is what we just described. We're fixing the issues that forced us to shut down a few instances. So, NPCs will no longer fall through the floor in the Tier 1 version of Depths of Mokta Corvo. We're also reducing the number of spawns from skills in the Garish fight in Temple of Utugabur. We've reduced most summoning effects by about half. We corrected a bug preventing characters under level 50 from accessing titles in the third monster player reward track. The Captain General and Tyrant quests at Tol Escarnin, Grimwood Lumber Camp, and Tirith Raw now advance properly. And the Grimwood Lumber Camp reset will now, I think, invoke an hour-long cooldown on resetting the NPCs. So we're basically fixing the instance stuff, doing a little bit of bug polish, and adding the harvest math. And that is update 45.6 set to go live next Wednesday. Now I think I'm done with news. I think. What about, quote, the damaged characters that cannot be logged after transfer? If you have transferred a character and you are not able to actually successfully log into that character, then yes, you should get in touch with customer support and they will work through the issue with you. Okay. We have got the Buried Treasure event happening. Now, the Buried Treasure event is a smaller event that happens in the Lord of the Rings Online. But you can get some free picks and do that yourself this weekend. When you log into the game, you'll see a quest available, and you'll do the quest available. You'll get a map to the treasure field, and then you go to the treasure field, and then you can speak to the Adolf and then Halthor to begin the round. This person shows up, about every 15 minutes or something like that. And then the event itself just sort of continues until someone finds the large treasure cache. Now, you'll have picks, and you'll have various methods by which you can use to actually try finding this stuff. And let me see, did I do this right? Or do I need to actually do the intro first? But you'll really just kind of go dig around some chests. You'll see me do this here in just a smidge. Oops, wrong way. Oh yeah, it actually said the next round will begin shortly. So we need to wait for the round to open up here real quick, I believe. But I can just show you this. So these are the training grounds here. So you'll see like these piles of treasure and stuff, and then you'll click on the pick, or you'll click on the rather dowsing gem or cave claw. It'll tell you the size of the treasure cache. You want to try to find the large treasure cache, and that's really about all the extent of the buried treasure event. Okay, let me get back to chat here. What about to make Pet and Mana account wide so you don't need to get them on all car? The issue of whether a mount should be account wide or character wide is one we've had years of feedback on. To date, we have not yet chosen to make adjustments on things. So. What is the reasoning for, quote, not addressing balance issues in patches? We do frequently address balance issues in patches. I would recommend going through our more recent release notes, and you'll see we pretty much handle class work and balance work on, if not every update, pretty much every update. So. It's always a moving target, though. I don't think any live video game will ever get to the point that Yep, balance is done. We've solved it. Now just no one ever change anything ever again. And we're all good. Fortunately, it tends not to work that way. Any new items for Harvest Math that can be discussed? Well, you are a few minutes too late because I just read the whole list. It's also true. I was actually going to say that, Sam. Someone was saying, hey, at least you can't fall off a cliff in this one. I could totally fall off a cliff in this one. Oh, okay. Yeah, round is ended. We will restart shortly. What is the reason, quote, for sudden queues on Orchrist? I am not aware of there being sudden queues on Orchrist. That said, we have done work in recent weeks to try to optimize game performance, and so it's possible that some queuing, you know, the threshold by which a queue opens up, might have been lowered, perhaps? Would be a thought. But I'm not actually aware of us lowering the queue. Otherwise, I know that we've just had high population for a while now. On Orchrist and elsewhere. So, alright, so I'm going to use one of my dowsing gems. And it'll give you a sense of very weak reading. This will tell you kind of what's buried on these piles. Oops. Oh, so the round ends when somebody picks up the large treasure from this event. And since someone picked it up, then that's that. So I'm going to have to just kind of... Someone got lucky right away, I think, here. We're just going to have to wait for the next event to begin, which it now has. Sweet. Alright. Very weak. Oops. Now you do have picks that you can use, but they are all just there. So you don't actually need to use the dowsing gems, but they will help you be more efficient. Yeah, huge cache ends the round. The biggest treasure is what happens. But once someone finds the big treasure cache, the round ends. I would expect, especially on weekends, to perhaps see queues on Orchrist and perhaps Glamdring as well. Ooh, strong reading. All right. Let's check this one out. There we go. And you get these treasure tokens here, and all. You know, like I say, you don't actually need to do all these previews. You can just kind of dig as long as you got enough picks. But the most efficient way to do this is to maximize the usage of your gems and cave claws. The cave claws will do a region. The gems will do a specific pile. The cave claws are more expensive. The gems are cheaper. And that's really all there is. This is a pretty simple event, really. It's not meant to be anything particularly complex. Oh, there we go. Husif wants to know, before the 64-bit servers, was there, quote, ever a point where a single huge server for everyone was ever considered? Yes and no. I would say no, to the extent that it was always very likely that we would have at least one in the US and one in Europe. So I think under any scenario there would have been at least two. But the idea of, well, can we just do one? Sure, absolutely came up. It was a big part of the discussion. You know, we tried to see what we could do, but realistically, we weren't in a position to be able to offer that. So pretty quickly we realized it ain't gonna work. So it's true, you can get a mount from this, so it's not bad. And you will get picks and, like you see just here, a dowsing gem as well from these piles. So very weak. Yes, UI and scaling has been on our to-do list for some time. But yes, at some point we do want to support 4K, we want to support wider resolutions, we'd love to support scaled resolutions. There's a whole bunch we'd love to do. And there will come a point where we get there. Wow, I've never seen 1,000 token treasure pile. That's hot. I didn't realize that actually we did that. Gosh, what did I do? Did I lull everyone to sleep by talking too much? I guess I've kind of run out of things to talk about. I'm sure there are plenty of things to talk about. Let me think about that. Let me just mention that you can also get, because you will pick up a bunch of these gems from doing this, you can barter for dowsing gems and the cave claw cages. Like I say, the gems is one pile, it's one token. The cave claw is 5. You can get yourself more maps to the treasure field to make things easier on yourself as well. I have 104 tokens here, so let's take a look at the barter vendor real quick and see what kind of stuff you can get. Cave claw mask, you can get yard treasure chest, dig site. You have a couple of emotes, panning and douse, treasure hunter's satchel. You can actually trade it. Well, actually, that's for, yeah, buried treasure tokens, motes of enchantment, if you have enough of them. Gem inspection, I'm guessing that's a title, or no, it's an emote. Rich, which someone was saying is part of the deed. Chickens. All sorts of stuff. Some of this is from old Hobnanigans rewards, if I recall correctly. We had rolled most of the old Hobnanigans rewards into the buried treasure event a couple of years ago now. But that has always had its own list as well. Face paint stencils. There we go. Well, I think that is probably enough of the buried treasure event. You do want to pick up this buried one as well, because it'll get you LI XP. That's pretty good. Plus, it gets you free picks and other stuff. So, and you can just repeatedly run that one as well. Oh, that's not where I want to go. Yes, I am wearing the armor set from the new expansion, and I believe, unless I picked incorrectly... Oh, no, I've got the jaunty steed. Let me get on the right steed here, too. This is not the Harvest Festival. The Harvest Festival starts next Thursday, and that's over by the party tree. You'll want to go over to the party tree to pick up the wrapper and such, and go to Wistmead from there. For guilds that ended up with the -1 suffix in their name on transfer, do we still need to go through CS, or will there be a token for a rename? Eventually, we will have a token for a rename. But for now, yes, you will need to go through CS to get that resolved. Are we any closer to, quote, fixing the lag? That's a challenging question, and one that is really a never-ending one. The answer is that once we fix lag, we will still need to fix lag. And then once that lag is fixed, we'll need to fix lag. Etc., etc. Forever, there will never be a time we will not be having a focus on game performance. That said, we do have specifically targeted work that we're doing. That's what I was talking about with the Bullroarer preview for next week. That has to do with raid and instance lag. Potentially, we don't even know if that's true or not. Although it would make logical sense that if things communicate a whole lot better, that you would resolve some of your game performance concerns during a large group communication. But we want to see in real world and with data captured based on real players. So that's happening next week on Bullroarer. We also have done work recently to dramatically reduce the number of kind of physics checks and objects that are communicating as well, and moved a lot of that client side. You maybe saw that in the release notes as well. Further work on that is also being done, as I recall, because that's programmatic. And then we've got other things that we're doing as well. So we have made progress. We did striping work, a week and a half ago now. And we've done other things too. So, we've spent a pretty busy month focusing on game performance, and we have made some headway, but more work is absolutely still going to happen. It would be lovely if I could wake up some morning and be like, hey, we have solved lag forever. Unfortunately.
What say you, traveler?
It happens. Do we have an update on Rivendell housing? Only that it is still on our plate to do. That I was talking about 2026 planning with Ryan and others this week, and that Rivendell housing remains on our short-term agenda. So I'm not in a position to say when, to confirm exactly when it's going to happen or anything, but it's absolutely going to happen, and it'll happen here maybe next year, probably next year. Probably next year. We're also working on the Angmarum Sorcerer, for example. That's also on the agenda. The work just discussed about UI scaling and other aspects of 4K support remains on the agenda. We've been working on that one for a long time already. And a whole bunch of other things too. So we're in the process of doing that 2026 planning. Right, the people who can are doing that work right now. Pretty much everyone else is just full steam ahead on getting Kingdoms of Harad ready for preview and then release. But we're already into October, and how quick did that show up? And, we are an organization just like any other that has things like budgets, yearly budgets and such. So all that work's underway. we've even had discussions just this week about Lotro's 20th anniversary. Dungeons and Dragons Online is celebrating its 20th anniversary in 2026, and so that is clearly a big project for marketing and peeps like myself. And so and that's happening in kind of next February, although it's throughout 2026, right? But so we're hard at work on that. But as we've been doing these budgets, we're like, well, we already know Lotro is coming next, so let's start thinking about what we can do for the 20th of Lotro. And so that's all happening. That's been happening too. Yeah, so Charissa, this is a PvMP class. I should make sure I am real clear. This is the new monster play class that is being worked on called the Angmarum Sorcerer. There was a preview actually already, wasn't there? Did we do a formal preview or did we just do a text preview? I can't remember now. It's been too crazy a month. But something like that. Yuletide in Mordor. 5 golden, 4 golden rings. I mean, the idea of a Mordor housing isn't... I mean, culturally and thematically as a game player, it's like, oh yeah, that would be fun. Totally have a house in Mordor. I think, let's be real though, even with the ring fallen and Sauron defeated, no one's living in Mordor after the ring drop for some large amount of time. I wouldn't think. Like, the idea is cool. The implementation, I don't know. Maybe you could. Maybe you could find a way to do it. I would imagine there will come a day where we will have Umbar housing. I mean, that just makes sense. That someday we'll get there. It's, I think, as much of anything as this stuff takes a while to do. And we've been focused on Rivendell and other things, Lindleby and other priorities. But, for sure, we're going to get to Umbar at some point. I think before we would say... Epic Games TV is suggesting something like a, quote, Moria bypass. That being, hey, I love Mines of Moria, but can I not have to Moria anymore? That's been on our mind, but I think the one we would focus on probably first before we would do something like that, because there is a lot of good Moria content, and that too is, I think the next on that will be further work done on Riders of Rohan to perhaps smooth over some of the epic battle experience. I wouldn't expect to see that this year, though, but perhaps that could be a 2026 as well. Oh, hello, little tundra cub. Oh, there we go. It's like, wait a second. Okay. But yeah, I mean, it would only make sense to do Umbar housing. Or at least Harad-related housing. Although Umbar makes total sense. Sure. I mean, to the extent that, yes, we're about ready to go into Rohan, shouldn't we have done that work before we did that? Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. But there is also the reality of we do have schedules and budgets and everything else, and it's just the reality of it. You can only do what you can do. So, and to be fair, it's not a small project. That's the other piece, right? So, quite to the opposite, as a matter of fact. Okay, where? I must have missed a zone. Oh no, escape the camp before reinforcements arrive. How about if I read the quest text rather than not? Okay. Yeah, or Shield Isles housing. I mean, you could really go a bunch of different ways. I think in some ways it would be very exciting to have a more urban-style house that you see in
What say you, traveler?
Umbar. And that is something that we really haven't done in Lotro much. So the idea of kind of even like something like an apartment style, if you can do it, or a more kind of like narrow street style type housing could be real cool. On the other hand, like a Shield Isles beach house could also be pretty sweet. So I think there's a whole bunch of good ideas. I don't think a lack of good ideas will be a problem there. No, I don't. Someone's asking me to comment on World of Warcraft's new housing system. I only know really any more about it than you do. I read some of the same kind of announcements and dev blog type stuff, but that's really about all I know. Reg 9K, I am not familiar enough with your concern to be able to properly speak to it. I apologize. But I am not... does it change the Shadows of Angmar Epic Volume 1D to allow it to complete for those who go through the Swan Fleet starter area? I would think... Oh, the Shadows of Angmar! Well, I think that that's intended, that you don't get the deed if you're not running the Shadows of Angmar version. But I have to admit, I'm a little ignorant on that topic. Oops. Okay. I must have missed a camp. The VIP page on the Lotra website could do with a once-over to bring it up to date. It does not reflect the current benefits for VIP, premium, and free. That is not a page that I have direct control over. That is done elsewhere in the organization. So what I can do is suggest to them that they take a fresh look at it. In particular, if you want to get me a list of what's the main stuff that's wrong, I can forward that list to them as well. Today is Cinnamon Roll Day. Someone is saying it is Cinnamon Roll Day or Cinnamon Bun Day in either Sweden or Finland. And I think that's awesome. I am pro cinnamon roll. I actually have to admit, though, I'm not a huge fan of super sweet bread. So in some ways, I appreciate that you might appreciate cinnamon rolls more than I would actually want one right now. But that's cool. Yeah, so I would have thought that completing the Swan Fleet starter area would, in fact, bypass the need for Volume 1. And that I guess, is why I'm somewhat confused about it. But really, it would take some forensic digging, I think, on the part of someone on the systems team to know, is there a bug there, or is it just a feature request? And are there other ways to do it, or what's the deal, you know? And I don't really know the answer to that. I have not, Lizzie has been sleepy of late. She has not been stopping by the Lotro stream for a while. I don't see her right now. We have about 5-7 minutes at the end of the show, so I guess if I was to go off topic a little bit, some of you may know, because I can't help but talk about it, that I'm like the world's biggest Tron nerd. I mean, that's not true. I am not the world's biggest Tron nerd because I haven't, say, dressed up as Tron characters or other kinds of things like that, but I am a very big Tron fan and have been ever since roughly 1982 when the first movie came out. And I was a youngin', and I was like, well, that's about the coolest thing ever. Also, yeah, it was the OG movie about video games. Anyway, all that to say, I am clearly very, very excited for next week, because we have got, for us Tron nerds, is quite the momentous occasion that we're actually going to get a third movie. I didn't even think that was ever going to happen. I like legit just thought that we were done after Legacy, because it didn't do that great. It was I loved the movie, but it didn't set the world on fire, and it didn't make them a whole bunch of money, so I thought we were just done. Sure enough, we got a third one. And not only that, we get a 9 Inch Nails soundtrack on top of it. A brand new 9 Inch Nails hasn't done a soundtrack as 9 Inch Nails since Quake. So it's like following up on Quake with Tron Ares. That sounds good. That sounds awesome. So, I'm about the most excited dude ever this weekend. I am on board. All this marketing, I've been seeing the social media about all the, it's not going to do great, and we care about box office even though I don't work for Disney. Right? I don't care how well Tron does. It will make at least $100 and some bucks, because that's how much I've already given it. But I'm doing the big thing. There's like 10 places in the United States that are doing the full IMAX 3D double feature. They're starting with Tron Legacy in 3D IMAX, because that movie had parts that were shot for IMAX as well. And then they're going to presumably take a break And they're going to show the new Tron movie in 3D IMAX, which was also in part shot for IMAX. You know, scenes were shot in the wider screen format and everything. And it comes with a little pin even, some kind of weird exclusive pin for being Mr. or Ms. Special, going to the Tron IMAX Megabuck dealio. But I'm doing it. Heck yeah, I'm doing it. I was actually signed up on Fandango to be notified when tickets were for sale. That's how much of a nerd I am. So I'm like, I'm taking the day off Wednesday. I am literally taking the day off for Tron-related reasons next Wednesday. And then I have got another set of tickets for Friday night at a regular movie theater. So I'm pretty excited. Do I think the movie's going to be amazing? It could suck, honestly. But it doesn't really matter.
This valley belongs
I'm gonna have
to
a
the
fun
Jedi,
time.
and
If it's
no
not
one
the
else.
if it's not the coolest Tron movie since Legacy, then oh well. And if it is as awesome as Tron Legacy turned out, then
Dangers are all
heck
about.
yeah, hell yeah, heck yeah. And either way, I'm gonna be a happy dude. So. Well, I already told people. I already told certain people that, hey, if things go to heck on Wednesday, don't call me. But of course I will do what I need to do. But see, I've already seen Legacy, so if I gotta duck out of Legacy for a little bit, all right. But I even saw Legacy in 3D back in the day. I actually, after that's the other thing. I mean, it makes sense for Tron. It makes sense for Tron, but I thought 3D was dead, like as a Hollywood concern. I didn't think we were getting anywhere with 3D movies. And sure enough, Tron comes out and it's all 3D'd up in here. Plus some other one. I saw some other movie in 3D on the marquee just of late. And I was like, really? They're still doing the 3D thing, huh? Yeah, that is actually my biggest sadness about the new Tron. It could be really good, but I would have loved to have seen both Olivia Wilde and Garrett Hedlund back in their roles, because they were really the ones that made Tron Legacy for me. But you know, like I said, I'll just enjoy what I can, not worry so much about it. But it's cool anyway. Gameplay Plays has a question about the wedding of Arwen and Aragorn, at the end of which the deed starts, which has two parts. The second part is written about what will happen in the future. The question is there a date when the continuation of these game quests will be released? That's a good question. If anyone knew the answer to that, it would probably be someone like Maid of Lions. And as far as I am aware, he hasn't said anything. I would think timeline-wise, you know, we know that if you've been playing, Corsairs of Umbar and Legacy of Morgoth, you'll know that Aragorn and Arwen have been a bit busy of late. But I would expect when the timeline makes sense for perhaps the next part, it wouldn't surprise me if Maid of Lions had thought about what the next piece would be. So I'm going to say probable yes, no idea when though. And it probably wouldn't be for a while, just due to the timeline we're currently in. Unless it was related. But I don't think that would be. Oh, Superman was 3D too? Okay. Well, maybe I just don't know. You know, I'm not the world's biggest moviegoer these days, but I just assumed the 3D thing was kind of dead again. I was always a fan. I think it's neat. Yeah, Made of Lion does play the long game on this stuff a lot, and if it's written in such a way to suggest a continuation, then a continuation has almost certainly been considered. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. Well, I think this is pretty much going to wrap up the show then. So, as we transport out, let me thank you so much for watching the show. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a like. That's the easiest thing you can do to really help spread the word about the Lord of the Rings online and other videos. Speaking of videos, I've seen some really great community content of late. I know we've got a bunch of concerts and things happening as well. I'd invite you to the Lotro Discord if you haven't been there yet to really get a sense of some of the events. I know we have a screenshot contest and such happening as well, and a lot happening inside of the game covered by the news in the first half of the show. So much appreciated, everyone. Thank you for being here, and I will see you next Friday.